This news instantly spread like wildfire in the middle of the dry steppe. Within minutes of the title appearing on various timelines, ARMY was made silent, then rowdy, then silent again. Jimin finally opened his mouth, and that one simple statement seemed to hit hard all the speculation about Jungkook being said to be sick in the past few days. Jungkook's name has been at the center of a whirlpool of issues. Starting from his absence in some moments that he usually never misses, his facial expression is considered calmer than usual, to pieces of old videos that are re-raised with a new narrative. From there, Jungkook's health rumors began to grow wild. Some call him exhausted, some associate it with mental stress, some even dare to speculate about a serious physical condition. Social media turned into a courtroom without a judge, and Jungkook became the defendant who was never given a chance to speak. ARMY split. Some panic and demand clarification, others choose silence and protect privacy. But among all the noise, one name continues to be eagerly awaited to sound: Park Jimin. Not without reason. For many years, Jimin was known as the most sensitive figure to the emotional condition of other members. He's not the type to talk nonsense. When Jimin spoke, ARMY knew it wasn't just lip service. So when he finally uttered the phrase that is now viral everywhere, the public reaction immediately changed drastically. In a simple recorded moment, without a big press conference, without a defensive tone, Jimin said that Jungkook was fine and asked everyone to stop interpreting the little things as something superfluous. The sentence sounds short, almost flat, but that's exactly where the power is. No drama, no exaggerated denial, no attempt to hurt opinion. Only one message is clear: Jungkook is not what people talk about. At that moment, too, the mood changed. Many large accounts that had previously spread speculation began deleting uploads. A long thread full of assumptions suddenly stopped halfway. Even some online media that had led the narrative of public concern slowly changed their titles to be more neutral. It was as if Jimin's statement was a hammer dropped by the judge, closing a trial that from the beginning was never supposed to be opened. But the most interesting thing is not only about the health issue itself, but the way Jimin conveyed it. There is no angry tone, no offense to the haters, no dramatic exclamations. It was not Jimin who attacked, but Jimin who protected. And for many soldiers, that's the real message. During this time, Jungkook was known as a member who rarely complained. He worked in silence, shouldering great expectations from a very young age. When the public gets used to seeing it always strong, the slightest change is immediately perceived as a sign of danger. Ironically, that excessive attention can actually be a new pressure. Jimin seems to understand this more than anyone. With one brief statement, he not only silenced the issue, but also reminded the public of the limits. The reaction of the ARMY slowly changed from panic to reflective. Many begin to ask themselves, since when did caring turn into invasion? Since when is affection wrapped in wild assumptions? Jimin's statement opens a space of contemplation that has been closed by the speed of social media. On the other hand, haters who had used this issue to build a negative narrative suddenly lost their footing. Without fuel, the rumor dies by itself. There was no lengthy clarification from the agency. There are no formal language-layered official statements. Just one voice from someone Jungkook trusts the most. And that's enough. What makes this moment even stronger is the history of Jimin and Jungkook's own relationship. The two are not just group mates, but best friends who grew up together under the same pressure. When Jimin talks about Jungkook, the public knows it's not a script. It was the voice of someone who really knew what was going on behind the scenes. Many fans realized that this statement could also be read as another signal. Jungkook may be choosing silence, and that is his right. Not all silence means pain. Not all distance means trouble. Sometimes a person just needs space without having to explain it to the world. Interestingly, after Jimin's statement was widely circulated, Jungkook himself was seen interacting again in his typical way. Not excessive, not dramatic, but enough to show that it persists. It was as if Jimin had paved the way for Jungkook to breathe without excessive glare. This incident again confirms one important thing in BTS dynamics. Protection between members is not always done with shouting, but often with calm. Jimin did not extinguish the fire with gasoline. It extinguishes it with still water. Now, Jungkook's pain issue is slowly dimming. Not because it was aggressively denied, but because it lost legitimacy. When the closest people speak calmly, all conspiracy theories sound ridiculous in themselves. And perhaps this is the biggest lesson of the moment. In an era where everyone wants to know everything, Jimin reminds that not everything needs to be talked about. Some things are quite guarded. Some people are quite trustworthy. And some issues, simply silenced with one honest sentence, ARMY came back to an unwritten agreement. Trust BTS, and give them the space to be human. The silence after Jimin's statement was even louder than the thousands of tweets before. A timeline that is usually full of theories and speculative video pieces turns into a space of reflection. Many soldiers admitted that they only realized how quickly they were dragged along by the flow of unfounded worries. And it's at this point that the story of Jungkook's illness takes a turn for the worse. It's no longer about rumors, but about how a single sentence can take back control of a narrative that's almost out of its owner's hands. Some observers of Korean pop culture refer to this moment as a rare example of soft power in the idol world. No press conferences, no official clarifications, no legal threats. There is only trust. Public trust in Jimin, Jungkook's trust in Jimin, and BTS's trust in the bond they've built over the years. In an industry that is often built on the perfect image, this moment feels very human. Interestingly, this issue also reopens old discussions about the burden Jungkook has borne since his teens. Many old soldiers remember how Jungkook grew up in front of the camera, from a shy teenager to a global icon. Every little change in him was always magnified, as if he had never been allowed to get tired. So when rumors of illness emerged, the public panic actually more reflected the fear of losing a figure that had been considered unshakable. This is where Jimin's statement becomes important. He not only defends Jungkook from rumors, but also subtly rejects the narrative that Jungkook must always explain himself. It was as if Jimin had said, without having to say it explicitly, that Jungkook had the right to remain silent, the right to withdraw for a moment, without suspicion. After that, a chain reaction ensued. Several large fanbase accounts started a hashtag campaign about respecting idols' privacy. The previously heated discussion turned into an adult conversation about the boundary between attention and pressure. Even some non-fans netizens who initially participated in spreading the issue began to admit that they were too quick to conclude. But of course, not all parties accepted Jimin's statement with a broad chest. There are still a handful of voices trying to twist his words, looking for loopholes, questioning, why should Jimin speak? Not Jungkook. But those voices were drowned out by the majority who voted to believe. Because in the world of BTS, trust between members is not a matter that can be debated from the outside. Also no less interesting is the attitude of the agency that chose to remain silent. There was no further clarification, as if they agreed that what Jimin said was enough. The silence of the official side only reinforces the message. Not all rumors are worth responding institutionally.